Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks so much for joining us again. So, the guys who've been working on this old world Witcher board game have just released another video. One of the most successful videos I've had on my fledgling YouTube channel is the one covering the announcement for the board game. So I really wanted to take a look at this. I am going to be pausing the way through it. I've not actually watched it yet, so I thought I'd just give my initial impressions live as I'm watching this. So hopefully we can get something out of this.
Hello, my name is Łukasz Woźniak. I am a board game designer, also a publisher, and here at Go On Board we are co-publishing a game with CD Projekt Red. It's a adventure board game called The Witcher Old World. In my first video I announced the game and laid out some initial information. Since then we have been getting a lot of feedback and questions. Thank you for all your kind words and interest in our game. Today and in the coming weeks I will be talking about more about the game and its development. So subscribe to this channel and follow our Facebook page to stay informed. Link is in the description. Before we start talking about gameplay details, and believe me, we will, right now I want to discuss how we started working with CD Projekt Red on a Witcher themed board game. I got in touch with the studio about 5 years ago. They created an amazing video game trilogy with the Witcher series, and as a huge fan, it was a dream of mine to design a Witcher board game with them. At that time, I was already running a YouTube board game channel, and I had been designing board games for 5 years.
Right, I just want to stop it there. So this guy was a fan of the game, all the games, a board game designer, and he literally just went up to CD Projekt Red and went, I feel like designing a board game for you guys because I love your world. That is so cool. I mean, number one, for CD Projekt Red to be as open to at least having a conversation or responding to someone like that is amazing. And I think the fact that this gent that we're talking about here, the designer, to be able to have the foresight to just be so passionate about it and to go ahead and do that, I think that's awesome. I really appreciate that. That's really cool.
A few of them had been published in Poland, so I decided to ask CD Projekt Red if there was a chance to work on a Witcher board game. The answer was clear. They didn't want to simply license out The Witcher, but they were willing to talk about co-publishing a project if the right idea came to them. I decided not to rush anything. Instead, I took my time to design something that fits well both mechanically and thematically within the universe of their video game. From time to time, I would ask if the door was still open on their side, and that helped keep my thought process going. Over a year ago, I shared my first design with CD Projekt Red. The initial response was positive, and they gave me feedback to work on. They also suggested that the game should be taking place before the time of Geralt of Rivia. This would allow us for truly competitive game with more natural, direct interaction between players, and it would provide a great chance to expand the Witcher universe. And my second design fit the idea more clearly, and it was accepted. And after that, we started to discuss how to bring the game to life.
Wow, so I really like the idea that they're looking to expand on the world beforehand, and I've got to say I haven't read the books or anything like that. I've mainly been introduced to the Witcher world through the game, so I think it's really interesting that CD Projekt Red want to expand on the previous stories that have happened before the time of Geralt of Rivia. I really like that idea, and I also like the fact, something you mentioned there was that this game is going to be competitive. So I'm not sure if he means competitive gameplay-wise between players, but I'll be interesting to hear what he has to say.
Since I run a publishing house, we decided that cooperation between two studios would work best. That way, each side would bring their experience to the table, making the most of the mechanics and story of the game. With an established creative vision in place, we started laying foundation for the design of Old World. First of all, the game is designed to be a competitive adventure with strong emphasis on combat mechanics. we felt that such a gameplay fits the Witcher franchise the best. After all, being a Witcher often means finding yourself at odds with someone or something. So we wanted to capture that feeling both in the game environment as well as between players. So we have worked to bring out a lot of in-game and over-the-table player interaction.
It's really interesting what he's saying here, because just my initial thought is that if it's going to be competitive and you've got 5 players that are going to be working in some way sort of against each other, I think it's going to be really cool to see you've got all the different Witcher schools. And my initial thought is that it's probably going to be on competing for bounties on certain monsters. Certain monsters will be able to give you a certain number of points maybe, or you have to do certain fights. Or even when you're in the middle of a fight, you can have other Witchers maybe turn up and subvert your plans, or try and take your bounty and get the reward or whatever. So I really like this idea. I think it's quite cool. One of the games that me and a group of friends play is the Bloodborne card game, and we really like that simply because there is a competitive, cooperative element to it, but there's also a massive competitive element where you're also trying to do over your friends. So I really like that idea, to be honest. So if they expand on something like that, this is going to be really cool for us.
That way the experience for players can be exciting and truly unique every time. Thirdly, we have aimed to keep the game easy to understand, and our playtesters have commented that the design is pretty clean too, but we definitely don't want to lose the thematic and strategic depth of the Witcher video games. There are plenty of Witcher fans that play modern board games, and the Witcher Old World is also for them. It should be easy to learn but hard to master. Fourthly, both CD Projekt Red and Going Board are involved in development. We have had a lot of meetings, calls, brainstorms and playtest groups to make sure that the design is streamlined and polished. And from my perspective, the cooperation is going well, and the project benefits from the input of both companies working on it. Fifthly, obviously you have established that when it comes to the lore and story, the CD Projekt Red team has deep expertise and strong vision. So they really know their stuff, as proven by the success of the Witcher games. So their insight is always something that we look forward to. At Go On Board we have run 2 successful Kickstarter campaigns in the past, and we have suggested a similar publishing model for the Witcher Old World, and CD Projekt Red saw the potential of publishing the game that way as well. Crowdfunding opens up many possibilities, and that's why it's used so often, even by big board game companies to this day. For the Witcher Old World, it allows the global Witcher community to be involved in the game design. Secondly, it makes it possible to create bigger deluxe version of the game that would be more difficult to roll out straight to retail.
Okay, I really like the idea of a deluxe version of the game. I mean, this guy's really selling it, to be honest with you. I love the fact that there's so much collaboration with CD Projekt Red, and as a developer, instead of trying to, have as much say as possible in the production of this game, from what, the developer is saying here, the story beats and the thing that CD Projekt Red are good at with regards to the Witcher series, he's going to let them keep, and I think I really like that. I've said a million times on my stream, I've said it a million times in conversations with my nerdy mates and people that I know. The Witcher 3 is an unbelievable game, and Blood and Wine is probably one of my favorite standalone pieces, even though it's a DLC of gaming. And it's simply because of the world building in there, the storyline, just the attention to detail, and just the feeling you get from being in Toussaint is just amazing. So I'm really hyped for this. I'm pretty excited. Let's see what he's got to say, and hopefully we can get to the end of this video.
Thirdly, it leaves room to create more content that we can add to the very first print run. And here we are now, after 9 months of development, still working on a lot of parts of the project, but we are ready and very excited to finally present it to you. If you have any questions about the Witcher Old World, about the game, post them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video, and in the coming weeks I'll expand on how the game looks, how the game works, and your questions will be answered. And remember, follow the project on the Kickstarter page. You will be notified on the first day of campaign that way. That's it for today. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
That was a great update. Really enjoyed that, to be honest with you. I think it's got a decent amount of information in there. Certainly nothing about the gameplay, what's in the box, how the miniatures and the models are going to look, or anything like that. But it's definitely a good marketing strategy because I'm interested, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are as well. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this that are, you know, board game masters, people who just play a ton more board games than I do or have the opportunity to. So I'd really love to hear your comments. I'd really like to hear your views on it, and I'd love to get a bit of a discussion going. But guys, thank you so much. Please like the video, and if you think that, you know, the channel is doing something cool and you want to help out a fledgling content creator, then please feel free to click that button. But I really appreciate it. Click the beard in the corner, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. Thank you so much.